Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Semper Fi. This is a game designed by Lee Forrester and published by The Gamers. This is one of the Tactical Combat Series games that The Gamers put out, and this was initially published in 1997. I want to send a big shout out to John Longshore, a channel member who sent this game to me. I really appreciate it, John. I'm going to look forward to digging into this game because the Tactical Combat Series is something I've always been curious about because it's different. It's not like Lock and Load Tactical or ASL or any of those. Here you draw battle plans and you execute them. You don't dig down into the details like you do with the other tactical systems here. It's all about command and control. And I think that's a unique angle on playing a tactical game. There's no back of the box text here, so we're going to take a look inside and see what you get. Get a pair of D6. Got our charts and tables. These look like they're foldouts, and they are. Our player aid cards. An insert for Operational Studies Group. The TCS series rules. Our counter sheets. And our maps. So let's set up the map and take a closer look at the game. Now we'll take a look at the maps that come with the game. This first map centers on Hagaru. You've got the city here, the buildings in the center, all the roads leading out, as well as a stream through the middle, and rice paddies there, East Hill to the north, and 3 further hills to the south. And on the next map, the predominant terrain features are the large swath of rice paddies, the Sangchan River, and Hill 202, as well as a hill to the south and the north, and then multiple cities sprinkled throughout. And the last 2 maps are centered around Fox Hill, No Name Ridge, and Observation Hill. Now we'll take a look at the player aids that come with the game. This is the turn record and terrain key. You have the turn record track around the outside, and then the terrain key in the center, as well as the Hagaru snow record, and then the day record at the top right. Next, we have the morale boxes for the U.S. Marines and the U.S. Army 10th Corps. Then we have the battalion morale boxes for the NKPA and the Chinese Communists. And lastly, we have the charts and tables, which is a fold-out. We have the command prep table and the basic terrain effects on combat and movement chart, as well as the spotting range chart. On the inside, we have the area fire table, artillery barrage fire values, morale table, save yourself retreat table, the adjustment table, minefield costs and attacks, and the mortar and infantry gun smoke scatter table. Then we finish it out on the back with the point fire, anti-tank roll, artillery point fire, and the sortie successful attack tables, and also the sortie point fire modification chart. Next, we'll take a look at the counter sheets that come with the game. We have U.S. forces on the left and the top right, the Chinese forces at the bottom right. Another half sheet of counters finishes out the Chinese forces as well as the North Korean forces. And on the last sheet, we have all of the administrative counters for use in the game. Now we'll take a look at the rules. This is a 28-page rulebook. On the front cover, we have the table of contents, the introduction, then we get into our components. Next page, we have the setup notes, beginner's note, playing solitaire, general game concepts, and then we get to the sequence of play. There are 5 phases in the game: command, aircraft fire, action, the cleanup, and then finally the turn end phase. And then we have the narrative sequence of play, which breaks down all the steps in the sequence of play to explain it to you. Get to our units here so you know how to read the counters in the game. There are modes, mode changes, mode effects, stacking limitation, then command. Command is going to be big in this game because you have your op sheets that you're going to be drawing up to give out the orders for your units when you are playing. Then we have the playing without a commander, which is an option. Then you have unit actions unaffected by command, units without orders, higher commander's intent, and then the op sheets. Then we have the op sheets explained as well as a couple of illustrated examples. Task organization, op sheet creation, command prep. They go into detail here for the op sheet types, task organization, op sheet creation, and then the command prep, as well as a couple of illustrated examples of the op sheets. That continues on to the next couple pages. Then we have the implementation, mission success, failure, and special handling issues. Special instructions, line entry, command optional. And then we have the digging in and weather and visibility. Line of sight, general rules, and there's the formula for figuring out line of sight. Then your spotting ranges. And then we have an illustrated example of how to calculate your line of sight and elevation determination, effects and restrictions, fire combat, restrictions on fire combat, and the target types. Then we get into losses, area fire combat, crossfire modifier, point fire, restrictions in special cases, and then the suppressive fire action, Overwatch, 2 Overwatch cycles, AT rolls. Then we get to morale checks, suppression, save yourself retreats, paralysis, and we have surrender. We get to buttoning up, which I've always kind of got a chuckle out of it with buttoning up in tactical games. The only time you really need to button up is artillery. Direct fire overhead is the only threat to the top of the turret. Outside of that, you really don't need to worry about it. You're going to be outside the turret when you're looking for better situational awareness. You start taking incoming, you just drop down. You have artillery fires, spotting, ammunition, and adjustment types, mission execution, special mission types, indirect fire and point targets, smoke effects, movement, minefields, terrain effects on movement, laying your mines, crossing by force. Then you have assault combat, breaching your minefields, and then ending assault combat, and then consolidated assaults and overrun combat. Mortars, anti-tank guns, on-map artillery, aircraft sorties, aircraft and sortie resolution. Then we have night combat and night effects, and then we have the designer's notes from Dean Essig at the back of the rules. And then on the back of the rulebook, we have charts for the common graphic symbols and their use, as well as a little welcome to the gamers and total game support. And when I showed you the components, I realized I did not have the game-specific rules here, so I went and downloaded them online, printed them out. So we're not going to go through the entire thing. I'm just going to kind of look at the first couple pages, which is the special rules for this game. We have some terrain features that are going to be different here: broken terrain, rice paddies, slopes, frozen marshes, building hexes, Hagaruri, LOS in general, and then bridges. Then we have some illumination cleanup and scatter, hidden units, the effects on combat, and then losing hidden status, as well as air spotting. On the next page, we have gun transports, snow, and then we have command and control for all of the forces in the game, setup notes, and then some TCS additional rules. We have special B-type targets, battalion morale, and on-map artillery. And spotting for indirect fires, quick combat optional, but recommended. And then we have US special rules for artillery, pre-registered artillery fires, understrength, and air power. Air availability, loitering, forward air controllers. I like the idea of having your pre-registered artillery fires as well as having to have your FAC on board for calling in air support. Then we have uncontrolled airstrikes, enhanced air capabilities, heat exhaustion, special units, recoilless rifles, AT assault sections, headquarters and machine gun sections, and then Marines at night, Marine morale, battalion organization, and the special North Korean and Chinese rules for artillery. That continues on to the next page. Then we have night combat, political officers, Chinese and North Korean mortars, AT rifles and rolls, smoke and elimination, and then we get into the Changalan Valley, and then the first scenario, which is ambush. Like I said, I'm not going to go through the entire thing because I had to print these out and I have to keep flipping it over each time to show the different scenarios in here. But you can see there's a good bit of scenarios that are in this game, a lot of special rules, optional rules, things like that. Then we have historical notes at the end. That goes on for a couple pages, and some player's notes, and then an annotated bibliography at the back, as well as on the last page, we're going to have the terrain effects chart listed out for you here in text. And that is a look at everything you get inside of Semper Fi. This is part of the Tactical Combat series and is a game designed by Lee Forrester and published by the Gamers. TCS is something I've never played before, and it's something Kevin and I have talked about on several occasions. He's the one who actually brought this up to me and said I need to check out TCS because of the op sheets. I like the whole idea of writing up your order and then trying to carry it out, because one of the problems I have, and this is where this discussion started with Kevin and I, with tactical games is perfect knowledge. it becomes just a game of chess. I would prefer imperfect knowledge. I think that is the best way to do it, but it's difficult to do so solo in a tactical game or in any game, really. There are ways to deal with it, but when it comes to tactical, it's tough because you have to make decisions to move both sides. You have to look at line of sight, all that sort of thing. So you pretty much just end up playing both sides with perfect information. There's ways, you can kind of change things up on yourself. But I like the idea of the op sheets because now you have a way of dealing with that perfect information and making it imperfect somewhat. So I'm looking forward to checking this one out and seeing how the op sheets work and how the flow of the game works when using something like this. But once again, a big shout out and thank you to John Longshore for sending this game to me. Really appreciate it. He knows I love tactical games, and this is the Marine game, Semper Fi. So obviously I'm going to be all over that. But thanks again, John. I really do appreciate it. Well, I hope that helps you guys out if you've been curious about this one. You have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.